Korean Mafia boss Sang-woo offered broke Rwandan nurse Rachel $10,000 for one impossible weekend. Be his fake girlfriend at his brother's wedding in Napa Valley. Make his vengeful ex-girlfriend Rachel, who keeps texting, "I made a mistake," insanely jealous. Prove to his controlling mother he'd finally moved on. Smile through family dinners and pretend they were madly in love. Just one weekend of playing pretend for money she desperately needed for her dying mother's surgery back in Rwanda. But when his jealous cousin discovered the payment and exposed their arrangement in front of 200 wedding guests, and his ex-girlfriend started sabotaging everything, what began as a simple business deal became the most dangerous real thing either of them had ever felt. And loving a mafia boss might cost Rachel everything, including her life. Before we continue, can I ask you a question? Where in the world are you watching from? Comment below, because we'd love to know how far these stories travel, and hit the subscribe button, because it helps us create more heartwarming stories. The coffee mug hit Rachel's white uniform before she even saw it coming. "Oh no," she gasped, jumping back as hot liquid soaked through the fabric. The brown stain spread across her chest like a map of disaster. "I'm so sorry." A deep voice made her look up. The man standing before her was tall, with sharp features and dark eyes that seemed to hold secrets. His expensive black suit probably cost more than her entire month's rent. He grabbed napkins from the counter, his movements quick and worried. "My assistant bumped into me," he said, dabbing at her uniform carefully. "Please, let me pay for the dry cleaning, and a new coffee, and whatever else you need." Rachel stepped back, suddenly aware that a strange man was touching her uniform. It's okay. These things happen. But it wasn't okay. This was her only clean uniform, and she had a 12-hour shift starting in 40 minutes at the hospital across town. The coffee shop in downtown San Francisco was supposed to be a quick stop, not a disaster. "No, it's not okay." He pulled out his wallet and handed her several $100 bills. "Please, I insist." Rachel stared at the money. That was more than her weekly grocery budget. "This is too much for dry cleaning." "Then buy yourself a new uniform." His phone buzzed, and he glanced at it with a frown. "I really am sorry. I'm Sang-woo Park, by the way." Rachel Mukamana. She took the money, knowing she needed it even if accepting felt strange. They stood there for a moment, an odd silence between them. Up close, she noticed the tiredness around his eyes, like he hadn't slept well in weeks. There was something else, too. Something that made him seem lonely despite his obvious wealth. "You're a nurse?" he asked, noticing her uniform underneath the coffee stain. "Yes. I work at Memorial Hospital." "That's good work. Important." His phone buzzed again. More, insistently this time. He ignored it. "Where are you from? Your accent is beautiful." "Rwanda. I moved here 8 months ago." Rachel felt herself relax slightly. Most people either didn't know where Rwanda was or asked uncomfortable questions about the genocide. He just nodded with genuine interest. "That's a long way from home." "Yes, but my mother needs medical care that costs a lot of money. The hospitals here pay better than back home." His phone rang this time, a sharp tone that made him curse under his breath. "I have to take this. But please, use that money for whatever you need." Rachel watched him walk away, phone pressed to his ear, his voice dropping to a harsh tone she couldn't quite hear. She looked down at the bills in her hand and wondered what kind of man carried this much cash and seemed so troubled. 3 hours later, after her shift started, Rachel couldn't stop thinking about the stranger. There was something about his eyes that stuck with her. Sad eyes in a hard face. The next morning, she returned to the same coffee shop, telling herself it was just convenient for her route to work. She ordered her usual tea and was about to leave when she heard that same deep voice. "You came back." Sang-woo stood behind her in line, looking just as tired as yesterday, but somehow pleased to see her. "I work nearby," Rachel said, feeling her heart beat faster. "Do you come here often?" "Starting today, apparently." He smiled, and it changed his whole face. "Can I buy you that tea? To make up for yesterday?" They sat together by the window. Morning light filled the small space, and the coffee shop hummed with quiet conversation around them. Sang-woo asked about her work, and Rachel found herself talking more than she usually did with strangers. He listened, like her words actually mattered, asking questions that showed he was really paying attention. "So you send most of your money back to Rwanda?" he asked. "Yes. My mother raised me alone after my father died when I was a baby. She worked 3 jobs to send me to nursing school. Now it's my turn to take care of her." "That's admirable. Family is everything." Something in his voice made her curious. "Do you have family here?" His expression darkened slightly. "My mother, my younger brother. My father died 5 years ago, and my older brother died shortly after. So now it's just the 3 of us. I'm sorry for your loss." "Thank you." He stirred his coffee absently. "My brother is getting married in 2 weeks. Big wedding up in Napa Valley." "That's wonderful. You must be excited." "I should be." He looked out the window, jaw tight. "But my ex-girlfriend will be there. She left me 2 years ago because she said my lifestyle was too dangerous, too unstable. Now she has a new boyfriend, some banker who wears boring suits and plays golf. She keeps texting me, saying she made a mistake, that she wants me back." Rachel didn't know what to say. This man was telling her very personal things, and they'd only just met. "And my mother," he continued, "keeps pushing me to bring a date, to prove I've moved on, to show Rachel that I'm fine without her." "Have you moved on?" Sang-woo looked at her directly, those dark eyes intense. "I thought I had. But seeing her again, having her try to come back into my life, it's complicating things. And I hate complications." His phone buzzed. He glanced at it and cursed quietly. The message on the screen was visible for just a second, but Rachel caught the name. Rachel. The preview read, "We need to talk before the wedding. I miss you." "Sorry," he muttered, putting the phone face down on the table. They talked for another 20 minutes, and Rachel found herself laughing at his dry sense of humor. He was different from anyone she'd ever met. Confident, but not arrogant. Powerful, but somehow gentle with her. When she checked her watch and realized she'd be late for work, she stood quickly. "I have to go. Thank you for the tea." "Rachel, wait." He stood too, and suddenly he was very close. "This is going to sound crazy." "What?" "I need a date for my brother's wedding. Someone who isn't Rachel. Someone who will help me get through this weekend without drama. Someone my mother can't say no to because I've already brought them." Rachel blinked. "Are you asking me to go with you?" "Yes. But not as a real date. As a pretend girlfriend. For the weekend, I'll pay you $10,000. The number hit her like a physical thing. $10,000 was 4 months of rent. It was her mother's medication for half a year. It was security she desperately needed. "That's insane," she whispered. "I know. But I'm desperate. Rachel keeps calling. My mother keeps nagging. And I just want one weekend where I can breathe. Where I can show everyone I've moved on, even if it's not exactly real. Why me? Because you're beautiful. Because you're kind. Because when I talk to you, I don't feel like I have to pretend to be someone I'm not." He pulled out a business card and wrote something on the back. "Think about it. That's my private number. The wedding is in 2 weeks. We'd need to meet a few times before to get our story straight. Make it believable." Rachel took the card, her hand trembling slightly. "I don't even know you." "I know. But maybe that's better. No history, no complications. Just a simple arrangement that helps us both." She looked at the card, then at him. There was something vulnerable in his expression now, something that made him seem less like a rich stranger and more like a man who needed help. "I'll think about it," she said finally. That night, Rachel lay in her tiny apartment, staring at the ceiling. $10,000 sat like a promise in her mind. She thought about her mother's last phone call, how weak her voice had sounded. She thought about the bills piling up on her kitchen counter. She thought about Sang-woo's sad eyes and the way he'd listened to her like she mattered. It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. But maybe crazy was exactly what she needed. 2 days later, she called the number on the card. "Sang-woo, it's Rachel. I'll do it. I'll be your pretend girlfriend for the wedding." There was silence on the other end, then a long exhale. "Thank you. You have no idea how much this means to me." "We need rules," she said firmly. "Clear boundaries. This is just pretend." "Of course. Whatever you need." But as Rachel hung up the phone, she couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just stepped into something much bigger than a simple arrangement. Something that might change her life in ways she couldn't predict. The question was whether that change would be good or dangerous, or maybe both. 3 days after their phone call, Rachel met Sang-woo at an expensive restaurant in the financial district, the kind of place where the menu didn't list prices and everyone spoke in hushed, important tones. "You didn't have to choose somewhere so fancy," Rachel said, feeling out of place in her simple dress. "We need to look like a real couple. That means being seen together in places I'd actually take a girlfriend." Sang-woo pulled out her chair, his hand briefly touching her shoulder. "Besides, you should eat well. Hospital cafeteria food isn't enough." Over appetizers she couldn't pronounce. They started building their fake history. "So how did we meet?" Sang-woo asked, taking notes on his phone. "The coffee shop, obviously. That part's true." "Right. And when was our first date?" 2 weeks ago? That makes this relationship new, but serious enough that you'd bring me to a family wedding." He nodded. "What do I do for work? Because my mother will definitely ask you." Rachel hesitated. "What do you actually do? You never said." Sang-woo set down his fork, his expression becoming guarded. "I run a security and import business. My family has been in San Francisco for 3 generations. It wasn't quite a lie, but Rachel sensed there was more he wasn't saying. The way his security guard waited by the door, the way the restaurant staff treated him with nervous respect, it all suggested something bigger than a simple business. "That's what I'll tell your mother then," she said, deciding not to push. They practiced their story, refining details until it sounded natural. Sang-woo was surprisingly good at this, asking questions that poked holes in their narrative so they could fix them before the wedding. "My mother is sharp," he warned. "She'll test you. Ask questions designed to trip you up." "What kinds of questions?" "Personal things. How I take my coffee. What side of the bed I sleep on. My favorite food." "Well, I don't know any of that." "Then we'd better figure it out." He smiled slightly. "I take my coffee black. I sleep on the right side because my father always took the left, and I guess I learned from him. And my favorite food is my mother's kimchi stew. But I'll never tell her that, because she already thinks she's always right." Rachel laughed. "What about me? What do you need to know?" "Everything." Something in the way he said it made her heart skip. They spent the next hour trading facts about themselves. Rachel told him about growing up in Kigali, how she'd hidden with her mother during the genocide when she was just a baby, how they'd rebuilt their lives from nothing. She told him about learning English from old American movies, about her dream of becoming a head nurse, about missing the red earth and endless hills of home. Sang-woo listened intently, his expression softening as she spoke. When it was his turn, he talked about the pressure of being the oldest surviving son, about how his brother's death had thrust him into a role he never wanted, about feeling trapped by family expectations. My mother wants me to marry a nice Korean girl, settle down, give her grandchildren, he said. But every woman she introduces me to only sees the money and the power. They don't see me. Is that why you dated Rachel? His jaw tightened. Rachel was different at first. Or I thought she was. She was studying art history, wanted to open a gallery. She seemed to care about things beyond material stuff. But when she learned what my family really does, she couldn't handle it. What does your family really do? Sang-woo met her eyes. That's a conversation for another time. They met twice more that week. Once for lunch, where they practiced holding hands across the table, their fingers intertwining in a way that felt more natural than it should. And once for a walk through Golden Gate Park, where Sang-woo told her about his older brother. Jun-ho was supposed to be the one, he said quietly, staring out at the bay. He was better at everything. Smarter, stronger, more diplomatic. When he died in a car accident, it destroyed my father. Dad had a heart attack 6 months later. That must have been terrible. It was. And suddenly, I was responsible for everything. The business, my mother, my younger brother. I was 25 and completely unprepared. Rachel squeezed his hand without thinking. You're stronger than you know. He looked down at their joined hands, then back at her face. You make it sound easy. Nothing worth doing is easy. They stood there in the fading sunlight, and Rachel felt something shift between them. This was supposed to be pretend, a business arrangement. But when Sang-woo looked at her like that, it didn't feel fake at all. Their next meeting was at his penthouse apartment in Pacific Heights. Rachel had insisted they needed to know each other's living spaces for authenticity. This is where you live, she breathed, taking in the floor-to-ceiling windows and stunning view of the city. Too much? It's beautiful. She walked to the window, looking out at San Francisco spread below them like a carpet of lights. Sang-woo came to stand beside her. My mother decorated it. She said a man in my position needed a place that impressed people. But it doesn't feel like home. What would home feel like? Warmer. Lived in. More real. He turned to look at her profile. Like your apartment probably is. Rachel laughed. My apartment is tiny and the heater barely works. But yes, it's home. They ordered takeout and sat on his expensive couch, practicing couple behavior. How to sit close together naturally. How to touch casually. A hand on a knee, fingers brushing an arm. It should have felt awkward, but instead it felt dangerously comfortable. We should practice kissing, Sang-woo said suddenly. Rachel nearly choked on her noodles. What? My family will expect us to kiss at some point during the weekend, probably several times. If we've never done it before, it'll look awkward and fake. Her heart pounded. That's not part of our deal. I know, but think about it logically. One awkward kiss now, or several awkward kisses in front of my entire judgmental family? He had a point, but that didn't make it less terrifying. Sang-woo stood and offered his hand. Rachel took it, letting him pull her to her feet. They stood face to face, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and woodsy. Just a practice kiss, he said softly. Nothing more. Nothing more, she echoed. He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. But she didn't. His lips touched hers, soft and warm. It was supposed to be brief, just a test. But the moment their mouths met, something electric passed between them. The kiss deepened, his hand coming up to cup her face, her fingers gripping his shirt. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard. That was, Rachel started, then couldn't finish. Good practice, Sang-woo said, but his voice was rough. Very convincing. They stood there, the air between them charged with something neither wanted to name. This was getting complicated, and they both knew it, but neither stepped away. "I should go," Rachel whispered. "It's late. I'll drive you." In the car, they were quiet. Sang-woo's driver navigated the city streets while they sat in the back, carefully not touching, both replaying that kiss in their minds. At her apartment building, Sang-woo walked her to the door. "Rachel, about what happened tonight." "It was just practice," she said quickly. "Like you said." "Right. Practice." But he didn't sound convinced. She unlocked her door and turned back to him. "Same time tomorrow. Tomorrow I want you to meet Tae-soo, my second in command. He'll be at the wedding, and you should know him." "Okay." They stood there, neither wanting to be the first to leave. Finally, Sang-woo reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers lingering against her cheek. "Sleep well, Rachel." "You too." She closed the door and leaned against it, her heart racing. This was supposed to be simple. Take the money, play the part, go home. But nothing about Sang-woo Park was simple, and she was starting to realize that this arrangement might cost her more than she'd bargained for. Because somewhere between the coffee shop and tonight, between the practiced stories and the practiced kiss, she'd started to care about him. Really care about him. And that was the most dangerous complication of all. The drive to Napa Valley took 2 hours. Rachel sat in Sang-woo's luxury car, watching vineyards roll past the window, her stomach twisted in knots. The wedding venue was a sprawling estate, with manicured gardens and a main house that looked like something from a movie. "Ready?" Sang-woo asked, his hand finding hers. "No. But let's do this anyway." They walked through the entrance together, and immediately heads turned. Rachel wore a simple but elegant dress that Sang-woo had insisted on buying her. His hand rested on the small of her back, possessive and protective. "Sang-woo!" A young man rushed over, beaming. This had to be Beom-seok, the groom. He had the same sharp features as his brother, but with a softer, happier expression. "You made it, and you brought someone." "Beom-seok, this is Rachel Mukamana." "Rachel, my brother, Beom-seok, and his beautiful bride, Yuna." Yuna, a petite woman with kind eyes, took Rachel's hands warmly. "It's so wonderful to meet you. Sang-woo has been so secretive about his personal life lately. This is such a lovely surprise." Before Rachel could respond, a sharp voice cut through the garden. "Sang-woo, you're late." Mrs. Park approached like a queen surveying her kingdom. She was elegant in an expensive handbook, her hair perfectly styled, her expression carefully neutral. But her eyes, so much like Sang-woo's, were sharp as knives. "Mother." Sang-woo bowed slightly. "This is Rachel Mukamana. Rachel, my mother, Mrs. Park." Mrs. Park looked Rachel up and down, not bothering to hide her inspection. "Mukamana, that's not a Korean name." "No, ma'am. I'm from Rwanda." "Rwanda?" Mrs. Park's lips thinned. "I see. And how did you meet my son?" "At a coffee shop in San Francisco. He spilled coffee on me, actually." "How romantic," Mrs. Park said, her tone suggesting it was anything but. "And what do you do, Miss Mukamana?" "I'm a nurse at Memorial Hospital." "A nurse?" Mrs. Park exchanged a look with an older woman standing nearby. "Well, that's certainly practical." "Sang-woo, might I speak with you privately?" "Mother, we just arrived." "Now please." Sang-woo squeezed Rachel's hand. "I'll be right back. Beom-seok, keep her company." Watching him walk away with his mother, Rachel felt suddenly exposed. Beom-seok must have sensed her discomfort because he smiled warmly. "Don't worry about Mother. She's protective of Sang-woo, especially after Rachel." "Rachel's going to be here?" Rachel had known this, but hearing it confirmed made her nervous. "Unfortunately, yes. Her family and ours have been friends for years. She's bringing her new boyfriend. Yuna rolled her eyes. The one she left Sang-woo for. It's going to be awkward. When does she arrive? She's already here. That's probably her by the fountain. Rachel looked where Yuna indicated. A stunning woman with long, dark hair stood talking animatedly to a man in a polo shirt. Even from this distance, Rachel could see she was beautiful in that effortless way some women managed. Expensive sunglasses, designer dress, perfect posture. As if sensing Rachel's attention, Rachel turned. Their eyes met across the garden. Rachel's expression flickered with surprise, then something harder. She whispered something to her boyfriend and started walking over. "Oh no," Beom-seok muttered. "Here we go." "You must be Sang-woo's new girlfriend," Rachel said, her smile not reaching her eyes. "I'm Rachel Kim, an old friend of the family. Rachel Mukamana. Nice to meet you." Mukamana. That's unusual. "Where are you from?" "Rwanda." "How exotic." Rachel looked her up and down, much like Mrs. Park had. "And how long have you and Sang-woo been together?" "A few weeks." "Really? Just weeks?" Rachel's smile sharpened. "That's quite fast to be brought to a family wedding. Sang-woo usually takes things much slower. We dated for 6 months before he introduced me to his family." Rachel felt the dig, but kept her expression calm. "When you know, you know." "How wise." Rachel tilted her head. "You're a nurse, I heard." "Yes." "That must be difficult work. All those hours, the stress. I don't know how you manage." "I like helping people." "Of course." Rachel glanced back at her boyfriend, who was checking his phone. "Well, I should get back to Trevor. But I'm sure we'll see plenty of each other this weekend. The wedding party is quite small, very intimate." She walked away, and Yuna let out a breath. "She's awful. I never understood what Sang-woo saw in her." "She's beautiful," Rachel said quietly. "Beauty fades. Mean lasts forever." Yuna linked her arm through Rachel's. "Come on, let me show you to your room. You're sharing with Sang-woo, by the way. Mother insisted that unmarried couples couldn't share a room, but Sang-woo told her you were both adults, and it wasn't negotiable." The room was stunning, with a view of the vineyards and a bed that could fit 4 people. Rachel's small suitcase looked out of place next to Sang-woo's expensive luggage. "This is beautiful," she breathed. "Enjoy it. And don't let Mother or Rachel get to you. They're both testing you, trying to find weaknesses. But I saw how Sang-woo looked at you when you walked in. He's never looked at Rachel like that." After Yuna left, Rachel stood by the window, trying to calm her racing heart. A knock made her turn. Sang-woo entered, his expression tight. "That was brutal. My mother spent 20 minutes telling me I'm making a mistake, that I barely know you, that I should have brought a Korean woman." "What did you say?" "That my personal life is my business, and she needed to respect my choices." He came to stand beside her. "I'm sorry. This is already harder than I thought it would be." "It's okay." Rachel introduced herself, his jaw clenched. "What did she say?" "Just making conversation. Sizing me up. She has no right." "We're done. She chose Trevor, and that's final." He turned to face Rachel fully. "But I need you to understand something. This weekend is going to be difficult. My mother will be cold. Rachel will be manipulative. My cousin, Kyung-min, who you haven't met yet, is jealous of my position and will look for any chance to embarrass me. Everyone will be watching us, judging us. Then we'd better put on a good show." Something flickered in his eyes. "Is that all this is to you? A show?" The question caught her off guard, because somewhere over the past 2 weeks, it had stopped feeling like just an arrangement. But admitting that felt too dangerous. "What else would it be?" she asked softly. Sang-woo stepped closer, his hand coming up to cup her face. "I don't know. But when I'm with you, I forget we're supposed to be pretending." Her breath caught. He leaned in, and this time when they kissed, there was nothing practice about it. His arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her close. She responded without thinking, her hands sliding up his chest to his shoulders. The kiss deepened, becoming hungry and desperate. Sang-woo walked her backward until her legs hit the bed. They fell onto it together, still kissing, his weight pressing her into the soft mattress. "Rachel," he breathed against her lips. "Tell me to stop." But she didn't want him to stop. She pulled him closer instead, and he groaned, his lips moving to her neck. A sharp knock on the door made them spring apart. "Sang-woo," Mrs. Park's voice called. "The welcome dinner starts in 30 minutes. Don't be late." They stared at each other, both breathing hard, clothes disheveled. Sang-woo cursed under his breath. "We should get ready," Rachel said, her voice shaky. "Right. Yes. Get ready." But he didn't move, still looking at her like he wanted to finish what they'd started. The welcome dinner was held in a gorgeous outdoor pavilion. Rachel found herself seated at a table with Beom-seok's friends, while Sang-woo was placed at the family table. Mrs. Park's doing, no doubt. Sang-woo noticed immediately. He stood up, ignoring his mother's protest, and walked to Rachel's table. "There's been a mistake. My girlfriend sits with me." The entire pavilion went quiet. Mrs. Park's face flushed with anger and embarrassment. But Sang-woo just took Rachel's hand and led her to the family table, where he made 2 other people move so they could sit together. Rachel watched from across the pavilion, her expression unreadable. Throughout dinner, Sang-woo kept his hand on Rachel's knee under the table, a constant reminder that he was there, that she wasn't alone. When toasts were made to the happy couple, he leaned over and whispered in her ear, "Thank you for being here. We had a deal. It's more than that now, at least for me." Before she could respond, the music started. Couples moved to the dance floor. Sang-woo stood and offered his hand. "Dance with me." On the dance floor, held close in his arms, Rachel felt the rest of the world fade away. It was just them, moving together, his hand warm on her back. "Everyone's watching us," she whispered. "Let them watch." He spun her, then pulled her back in, closer than before. When the song ended, he didn't let go. Instead, he lowered his head and kissed her, right there in front of his entire family. It wasn't a gentle kiss. It was claiming, possessive, real. When they finally broke apart, Rachel's face was flushed and her heart pounded. Mrs. Park stood at the edge of the dance floor, her expression a mixture of shock and something that might have been grudging respect. But Rachel looked furious. She'd abandoned Trevor and was staring at them with naked jealousy. "I think we just made our point," Sang-woo murmured against Rachel's ear. "What point?" "That you're mine, and I'm yours. Even if it started as pretend, it doesn't feel that way anymore." Rachel pulled back to look at him, searching his face. "Sang-woo, I know this complicates things. I know we had an arrangement. But I can't stop thinking about you, Rachel. These past 2 weeks, you've become the best part of my day." Her throat tightened with emotion, because she felt it too. This pull toward him that was becoming impossible to ignore. "This is supposed to be fake," she whispered. "Then why does it feel so real?" He kissed her again, softer this time, and Rachel let herself get lost in it. Tomorrow they could worry about what this meant. Tomorrow they could figure out boundaries and arrangements and reality. But tonight, under the stars in Napa Valley, with music playing and his arms around her, Rachel let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, this fake relationship was becoming the most real thing in her life, even if that terrified her more than anything else ever had. Morning sunlight streamed through the windows when Rachel woke. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she felt the warm body beside her and remembered. Sang-woo lay on his back, one arm thrown over his head, his face relaxed in sleep. They'd stayed up late talking after the dinner, finally falling asleep in the same bed without anything intimate happening. Just two people growing comfortable with each other. She studied his face in the gentle light. Awake, he always seemed guarded, his expressions carefully controlled. But sleeping, he looked younger, less burdened. There was a small scar near his left eyebrow she'd never noticed before. She resisted the urge to trace it with her finger. His eyes opened, catching her watching him. "Good morning," he said, his voice rough with sleep. "Good morning." They lay there, looking at each other, neither making a move to get up. The wedding activities didn't start until noon, giving them a rare morning of quiet. "Thank you for last night," Sang-woo said, "for standing by me when my mother tried to separate us, for dancing with me, for making this bearable." "You don't have to keep thanking me. We have a deal." "Do we?" He rolled onto his side to face her fully. "Because last night didn't feel like a business arrangement." Rachel's heart raced. What did it feel like? Like something I don't want to end when this weekend is over. Before she could respond, loud knocking interrupted them. "Wake up, lovebirds," Beom-seok's cheerful voice called. "We're going on a vineyard tour before the wedding activities. Mother says everyone has to come." Sang-woo groaned. "I'll be right there." They got dressed quickly, Rachel choosing a comfortable sundress, while Sang-woo pulled on dark jeans and a white button-down. When she emerged from the bathroom, he was waiting by the door, his eyes appreciative. "You look beautiful." "It's just a simple dress." "It's not the dress." He came closer, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "It's you." The vineyard tour included the entire wedding party, about 20 people total. Mrs. Park managed to arrange it so she walked with Sang-woo at the front, grilling him about his business, while Rachel fell back with Yoona and Beom-seok. "Your mother doesn't like me," Rachel observed. "She doesn't like anyone for Sang-woo," Beom-seok said. Rachel was the first girlfriend she ever approved of, and look how that turned out. Give her time. Rachel and Trevor walked ahead of them, Rachel's laugh carrying back on the breeze. She kept glancing back at Sang-woo, and Rachel noticed he was carefully avoiding looking in her direction. After the tour, there was a wine tasting. Rachel had never been much of a drinker, but she sipped politely while conversation flowed around her. Sang-woo's cousin Kyung-min introduced himself with a too-wide smile. "So you're the mysterious new girlfriend," he said, his eyes calculating. "Sang-woo works fast. I didn't even know he was seeing anyone." "We've been keeping things quiet," Rachel replied. "Clearly. Tell me, what does a nurse from Rwanda see in a man like my cousin? Besides the obvious money, of course." Sang-woo appeared before Rachel could answer, his expression hard. "Kyung-min, don't you have somewhere else to be?" "Just making conversation with your lovely girlfriend. No harm in that." "There's plenty of harm when you're being disrespectful. Move along." After Kyung-min left, Sang-woo's jaw was still tight. "I'm sorry. He's always been a problem. Jealous that my father chose me over him when my brother died." "Why did your father choose you?" "Because Kyung-min is impulsive and greedy. He'd have run the business into the ground within a year." Sang-woo took her hand. "Come on, let's get out of here." They slipped away from the group, walking down a path between the grapevines. The afternoon sun was warm, and the valley stretched endlessly around them. "I need to tell you something," Sang-woo said when they were alone. "About my business, about what my family really does." Rachel's stomach fluttered nervously. She'd suspected there was more to his story, but hearing it confirmed still felt significant. They found a bench under a large oak tree. Sang-woo sat, pulling her down beside him. "My family runs a Korean Mafia organization," he said bluntly. We control gambling, some imports, protection services in certain neighborhoods of San Francisco. We're not as violent as the movies make it seem, but we're not legitimate either. Rachel absorbed this information. It explained so much. The guards, the nervous respect, the carefully controlled image. Does that scare you? He asked. A little? Should it? Probably. But I want you to understand something. I never wanted this life. When Junho died, I had no choice. The organization needed leadership, and I was the only one my father trusted. So I stepped up because that's what family does. Do you hurt people? I protect my people. Sometimes that means defending territory or dealing with threats. But I'm not a monster, Rachel. I have rules. No drugs, no human trafficking, no targeting innocents. The families under my protection know they're safe. What about Rachel? Is this why she left? Yes. She found out the truth about 6 months into our relationship. At first she said she could handle it, but the more she saw, the more it frightened her. She gave me an ultimatum: leave the business or lose her. Why didn't you leave? Because I can't. These people depend on me. My brother depends on me. My mother's lifestyle depends on me. If I walked away, Kyung Min or someone worse would take over, and everything my father and brother built would be destroyed. Rachel was quiet, processing. This changed things, made them more complicated and dangerous. But when she looked at Sang-woo, she saw the same man who'd listened to her stories, who'd been gentle with her, who'd defended her against his mother. I appreciate you being honest with me, she said finally. You're not running away. Should I? Most people would. I'm not most people. She took his hand. But you need to be honest about something. When this weekend ends, what happens to us? The arrangement was just for the wedding. Sang-woo turned to face her fully. I don't want this to end. These past 2 weeks with you have been the happiest I've been in years. You make me want to be better, to maybe find a way out of this life eventually. Eventually isn't now. No, but it's hope, and I haven't had much of that lately. They sat in silence for a while, hands clasped, both thinking about impossible futures. Tell me about your mother, Sang-woo said eventually. You send her money, but you never talk about her illness. Rachel sighed. She has heart problems. The medical system in Rwanda is improving, but the kind of care she needs is expensive. My aunt was supposed to be managing the money I send, making sure Mother gets her medication and sees doctors regularly. Was supposed to. I found out last week that my aunt has been stealing most of it, using it for her own family. My mother has been getting worse because she can't afford her medication. Anger flashed across Sang-woo's face. That's theft. Family doesn't do that. My aunt thinks I'm rich because I work in America. She doesn't understand that I can barely pay my own rent some months. How much does your mother need? For proper care? Why? Because I can help. I have resources. Sang-woo, I can't accept more money from you. The 10,000 is already too much. It's not about the arrangement anymore. It's about helping someone I care about help her mother. He squeezed her hand. Let me do this, please. Tears pricked Rachel's eyes. Why are you being so kind to me? Because you're the first real thing in my life in a very long time. He cupped her face, brushing away a tear that escaped. Because when I'm with you, I remember what it feels like to actually feel something beyond duty and obligation. She leaned into his touch, overwhelmed by the tenderness in his expression. This man, this dangerous man with his complicated life, was looking at her like she was precious. I'm scared, she whispered. Of me? Of this? Of how fast I'm falling for you. This was supposed to be simple. Nothing about us is simple. He leaned his forehead against hers. But maybe simple is overrated. They kissed then, slow and deep, pouring everything they couldn't say into it. When they finally pulled apart, the sun had moved lower in the sky. "We should head back," Rachel said reluctantly. "They'll notice we're gone." "Let them notice." But they walked back anyway, hands intertwined. Something fundamental shifted between them. This was no longer pretend. Whatever this was, wherever it led, they were in it together now. Back at the estate, Rachel intercepted them near the garden. "Sang-woo, can we talk? Privately? Whatever you need to say, you can say in front of Rachel." Rachel's smile was brittle. "Fine. I wanted to apologize for how things ended between us, for not being brave enough to stay. It's in the past, Rachel." "Is it?" "Because I've been thinking a lot lately. Trevor is nice, but he's not you. He doesn't make me feel the way you did. I made a mistake, Sang-woo, a huge mistake." Rachel felt Sang-woo's hand tighten around hers. "You did make a mistake," he agreed. "But not the one you think. Your mistake was believing that I'd wait around for you to change your mind. I've moved on, Rachel. Completely." "With her?" Rachel looked at Rachel with barely concealed disdain. "You've known her for what, 3 weeks? That's not real, Sang-woo. That's rebound. You don't know anything about what's real. I know you. I know you don't fall fast. I know you're probably using her to make me jealous. And guess what? It's working. I'm jealous. I want you back." "Too bad." Sang-woo pulled Rachel closer. "I'm exactly where I want to be." Rachel's composure cracked. "You'll regret this. She can't handle your life. She'll leave just like I did, and you'll be alone again. If she leaves, that's her choice. But unlike you, I'm not going to assume she's too weak to handle the truth about who I am." They walked away, leaving Rachel standing alone in the garden. Once they were inside, Rachel let out a shaky breath. "That was intense. She's desperate. Trevor must be even more boring than I thought. Do you still love her?" Sang-woo stopped, turning Rachel to face him. "No, I thought I did. But being with you made me realize what I felt for Rachel was comfortable familiarity, not love. You make me feel alive, Rachel. You make me want things I thought I'd given up on." "Like what?" "Like happiness. Like a future that's more than just duty. Like someone to come home to who sees me, not just the role I play." Her breath caught. Before she could respond, Yuna appeared looking frazzled. "There you are. Your mother is looking for you, Sang-woo. Something about the seating chart for tomorrow. And Rachel, some of us are having tea in the sunroom if you want to join." The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of wedding preparations. Rachel found herself surprisingly welcomed by Yuna's friends, who asked genuine questions about Rwanda and seemed fascinated by her nursing stories. Mrs. Park remained cold, but had stopped making openly hostile comments. That evening, after dinner, Rachel and Sang-woo finally returned to their room. The day had been long and emotionally exhausting. "Shower first, or should I?" Sang-woo asked. "You go ahead." While he showered, Rachel stood on the balcony, looking out at the dark vineyards. Tomorrow was the wedding, and then this weekend would be over. They'd go back to San Francisco, back to real life, and have to figure out what they were to each other, arms wrapped around her from behind. Sang-woo was warm from the shower, smelling of soap and something uniquely him. He'd changed into just pajama pants, his chest bare against her back. "What are you thinking about?" he murmured against her hair. "Tomorrow. What happens after? We figure it out together." She turned in his arms to face him. Water still clung to his hair, and in the moonlight, he looked almost vulnerable. Her hands came up to rest on his chest, feeling his heartbeat under her palms. "I'm falling for you," she admitted, "really falling, and it terrifies me." "I'm already there," he confessed. "Have been since that kiss in my apartment. Maybe even before." He kissed her then, and this time neither of them held back. His hand slid into her hair, tilting her head for better access. She pressed closer, needing to feel him, needing to know this was real. They moved back into the room, still kissing, tumbling onto the bed together. Sang-woo's hands roamed her body, learning her curves, while she explored the muscles of his back and shoulders. "Tell me to stop," he breathed against her neck. "Tell me this is moving too, fast." But Rachel didn't want him to stop. She pulled him closer, answering with her body what her words couldn't say. They made love slowly, tenderly, taking time to learn each other. It was intense and emotional, more than just physical. It was a claiming, a promise, a leap of faith. Afterward, wrapped in his arms, Rachel felt tears slip down her cheeks. "Are you okay?" Sang-woo asked, concerned. "Did I hurt you?" "No, I'm just overwhelmed. 2 weeks ago I didn't know you existed. Now I can't imagine my life without you in it." He held her tighter. "You don't have to imagine it. I'm not going anywhere." They fell asleep tangled together, and for the first time in years, Sang-woo slept without nightmares. Tomorrow would bring the wedding and whatever challenges waited. But tonight, in this moment, they had each other. And that felt like enough. The morning of the wedding arrived with golden sunshine streaming through the vineyard. Rachel woke wrapped in Sang-woo's arms, her body still tingling from the night before. Everything felt different now. Real. Permanent. "Good morning, beautiful," Sang-woo murmured, kissing her shoulder. "Good morning." She turned to face him, studying his relaxed expression. "No regrets. Only that we didn't do this sooner." He traced her jawline with his finger. "Last night was perfect." They lay together for a few more precious minutes before reality intruded. The wedding ceremony was at 4 in the afternoon, but there were preparations all day. Hair appointments, photos, last-minute errands. "I should let you get ready," Sang-woo said reluctantly. "Mother scheduled breakfast for the family at 9. Will I see you before the ceremony? Try to keep me away." He kissed her deeply, and Rachel felt herself melting into him again. They could have stayed in that bed forever, but eventually they forced themselves to get up. Rachel showered and dressed in casual clothes, planning to change into her formal dress later. When she came out, Sang-woo was on his phone, his expression troubled. "What's wrong?" "Tae-soo just called. There's been some trouble back in San Francisco. Nothing urgent, but I need to handle a few calls this morning." "Is everyone okay?" "Yes, just business complications." He set the phone down and came to her. "But nothing is more important than being here with you today." They went down to breakfast together. The family dining room was filled with chatter and excitement. Beom-seok looked nervous, but happy, while Yoona glowed with bridal joy. Mrs. Park presided over everything with the precision of a general. "Sang-woo, you're sitting here," Mrs. Park directed, pointing to a seat beside her. The seat next to it was conspicuously empty, not meant for Rachel. "Actually, Mother, I'll sit with Rachel." The family sits together at family breakfast. Rachel can sit with the other guests. Sang-woo's jaw tightened. Before he could argue, Rachel touched his arm. "It's okay. It's your brother's wedding day. Sit with your family." She saw the gratitude in Mrs. Park's eyes, quickly hidden. This was a test, and Rachel had just passed by not making a scene. She found a seat with Yoona's bridesmaids, who welcomed her warmly. But across the room, she caught Kyung-min watching her with calculating eyes. Something about his expression made her uneasy. After breakfast, the women went to get ready while the men handled last-minute setup. Rachel returned to the room to find her dress hanging ready, a beautiful burgundy gown that Sang-woo had insisted on buying. She'd protested the expense, but he'd said she needed to look like she belonged at his side. Now, looking at the elegant dress, she wondered if she'd ever truly belong in his world. She was applying makeup when someone knocked. Expecting Yuna or one of the bridesmaids, she opened the door to find Mrs. Park standing there, her expression cold. "Mrs. Park, hello. We need to talk. May I come in?" Rachel's stomach knotted, but she stepped aside. Mrs. Park entered and closed the door behind her with deliberate care. "You seem like a nice young woman," Mrs. Park began. "Hardworking. Polite. Under different circumstances, I might even like you. But you're not right for my son. Surely you see that. You come from completely different worlds. Your relationship has been, what, 3 weeks? That's not enough time to build something real. With respect, Mrs. Park, that's for Sang-woo and me to decide. Is it?" Mrs. Park's eyes sharpened. "Or is this arrangement more business than romance?" Rachel's blood went cold. "I don't know what you mean." Kyung-min did some research. He found records of a $10,000 transfer from Sang-woo to your account 2 weeks ago, the same day you started appearing together publicly. Mrs. Park's voice was ice. "He paid you to be here, didn't he? To be his fake girlfriend and make Rachel jealous." Rachel felt the room spin. How had Kyung-min found that information? Banking records were supposed to be private. "It's not what you think," she started. "Then explain it to me. Explain why my son would pay a stranger $10,000 unless it was for a service. What service are you providing, Miss Mukamana?" The insinuation was clear and insulting. Rachel felt tears prick her eyes but forced them back. "Sang-woo needed a date for the wedding. I needed money for my mother's medical care. Yes, we started with an arrangement, but it became real. What we have now is real." "You expect me to believe that?" Mrs. Park's laugh was bitter. "You're a gold digger who saw an opportunity and took it. How much more have you gotten from him? What's your long-term plan? Marriage? A settlement when he gets bored? I love your son. You love his money. Girls like you always do." Mrs. Park moved closer, her voice dropping. "I'm going to give you a chance to leave with some dignity. Take the $10,000 and disappear. Don't make a scene at the wedding. Just leave quietly, and we'll all pretend this never happened." "No. No." Mrs. Park's eyebrows rose. "You think you can refuse me?" "I think Sang-woo is an adult who can make his own choices, and I think you're scared that he's finally found something that makes him happy outside of your control." Mrs. Park's face flushed with anger. "How dare you speak to me that way? You know nothing about my son or what he needs." "I know he's tired. I know he never wanted the life you and his father forced on him. I know he's lonely and scared and pretending to be strong all the time, because that's what everyone expects. Get out. Get out of this house right now, or I'll have security remove you. This isn't your house, Mrs. Park, and I'm not leaving unless Sang-woo asks me to." They stared at each other, wills clashing. Finally, Mrs. Park turned and left, slamming the door behind her. Rachel sat on the bed, shaking. The confrontation had rattled her more than she wanted to admit. Because Mrs. Park was right about one thing. Their relationship had started as a transaction. How could she prove it had become something more? A soft knock made her tense, but it was just Rachel slipping inside. I heard raised voices. "Are you okay?" Rachel looked at her warily. "What do you want, Rachel?" "To talk. Woman to woman." Rachel sat in the chair by the window, her expression sympathetic. "Mrs. Park can be harsh. I know from experience. You're here to gloat. No, I'm here because I recognize what you're going through. When Sang-woo and I dated, his mother made my life difficult too. Nothing I did was good enough. She picked apart everything from my clothes, to my education, to my family background. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to understand what you're getting into. Mrs. Park will never accept you. The family will always see you as an outsider. And Sang-woo's life is dangerous. You're a nurse from Rwanda. You have no idea how to navigate his world. Maybe I don't need to navigate it. Maybe I just need to be there for him. Rachel's smile was sad. That's what I thought too. But it's not enough. His world will swallow you whole. The late-night calls, the dangerous situations, the constant looking over your shoulder. I couldn't handle it, and I was better prepared than you are. So you think I should leave? I think you should be realistic. You've known him 3 weeks. How much can you really know about someone in that time? How much can you really love them? Rachel wanted to argue, but doubt was creeping in. Rachel was voicing all the fears she'd been trying to suppress. He paid you to be here, didn't he? Rachel continued softly. Kyung-min told me about the money transfer. It's okay to admit it. This started as business. It's not business anymore. Are you sure? Or are you just telling yourself that because you've already taken the money and feel obligated, because the sex was good, and you're confusing physical attraction for something deeper? You don't know anything about us. I know Sang-woo. I dated him for over a year. I know how he operates, how he compartmentalizes his life. I know he's probably told you sweet things, made you feel special. But that's what he does when he wants something from someone. Rachel stood, smoothing her dress. I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm trying to help you avoid the heartbreak I went through. Sang-woo doesn't love easily, and he doesn't let people in. If you think 3 weeks changed that, you're deluding yourself. After Rachel left, Rachel sat alone, her thoughts spinning. Everything they'd said was taking root, making her question what she knew to be true. Yes, their relationship started as an arrangement. Yes, 3 weeks wasn't long. Yes, she was completely out of her depth in his world. But what she felt for Sang-woo was real, wasn't it? Her phone buzzed with a text from her aunt in Rwanda. More demands for money, more accusations that Rachel wasn't doing enough for her family. She deleted it without responding. Maybe everyone was right. Maybe she was just a gold digger looking for security. Maybe she'd convinced herself she loved Sang-woo because it was easier than admitting she'd sold herself for $10,000. The thoughts spiraled, each one darker than the last. By the time Yuna knocked to say it was time to get ready for the ceremony, Rachel had made a decision. She couldn't do this. She couldn't stand beside Sang-woo and pretend she belonged. She couldn't face his family knowing they all thought she was a fraud. She couldn't risk her heart any further on something that might have been built on lies from the start. She needed to leave. Rachel changed into the burgundy dress mechanically, her hand shaking as she zipped it up. She looked beautiful, but that just made everything worse. She was playing dress-up in a life that wasn't hers. She wrote a note on hotel stationery, her vision blurring with tears. Sang-woo, I'm sorry. I can't do this. Your mother is right. I don't belong in your world. What we had was beautiful, but it wasn't real. Not real enough to build a life on. The arrangement is over. Please don't look for me. Take care of yourself. Rachel. She left the note on the bed and grabbed her small bag. The burgundy dress would stay. She couldn't take anything else he'd bought her. She needed to leave with only what was hers. The halls were empty as everyone prepared for the ceremony. Rachel slipped out a side door and walked quickly to the main entrance, where taxis waited for guests. San Francisco Airport, please, she told the driver. As they pulled away, she looked back at the beautiful estate one last time. Somewhere inside, Sang-woo was getting ready for his brother's wedding, unaware that she was running away. Maybe he'd be relieved. Maybe he'd realize this was for the best. Or maybe he'd be hurt. That thought made her chest ache, but she couldn't go back now. The taxi was already at the gates, already leaving behind the life she'd briefly imagined could be hers. Rachel closed her eyes and let the tears fall. Meanwhile, back at the estate, Sang-woo finished getting ready and went to collect Rachel. He knocked on their room door. excitement bubbling in his chest. He couldn't wait to see her in that dress. When she didn't answer, he used his key. The room was empty. He saw the note immediately. Reading it felt like being punched in the chest. Each word was a knife, cutting deeper. She was gone. She thought it wasn't real. She thought she didn't belong. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." He tried calling her phone. It went straight to voicemail. Sang-woo ran downstairs, his dress shoes clattering on the marble floors. He found Tae-soo near the entrance. "Rachel, did you see her leave?" "About 20 minutes ago. She took a taxi. I assumed you knew." "Which direction?" "Toward the highway." "Boss, the ceremony starts in 30 minutes. "I don't care about the ceremony." Sang-woo was already moving toward his car. "Call ahead to the airport. Find out which flights to San Francisco are leaving in the next few hours. Have someone check every airline." "Boss, your brother is getting married." Sang-woo stopped and turned back. Beom-seok stood at the top of the stairs in his tuxedo, Yuna beside him in her wedding dress. "What's going on?" Beom-seok asked. "Rachel left. I have to find her." "In the middle of my wedding?" "I'm sorry. But I can't lose her. I love her." Beom-seok looked at Yuna, who nodded. "Then go. Go get her. The wedding can wait 10 minutes. I'll be back as soon as I can." Sang-woo ran for his car, his heart pounding. He couldn't let her go. He wouldn't. Whatever his mother or Rachel or anyone else had said to her, he'd fix it. He'd make her understand that what they had was real. It was the most real thing in his life. He just had to reach her before she disappeared forever. The drive to the airport was a blur of speed and desperation. Sang-woo called in every favor, had Tae-soo mobilize his entire network. By the time he reached the airport, he knew exactly which terminal she was in. He abandoned his car at the curb and ran inside, not caring about the chaos he was causing. Security tried to stop him, but one look at his face, and they stepped aside. He found her at gate 23, sitting with her small bag, tears streaming down her face. "Rachel." She looked up, shock and pain in her eyes. "How did you find me?" "Did you really think I'd let you go?" He crossed to her in 3 long strides, pulling her to her feet. "Did you really think I wouldn't come after you? Your brother's wedding can wait. You can't." He cupped her face, forcing her to look at him. "Whatever they said to you, whatever doubts they planted, it's lies. All of it. Your mother knows about the money. She knows this started as an arrangement. I don't care what she knows. Yes, we started with a deal. But that's not what this is anymore. You know that. I know you feel it too. Rachel said you're just using me, that I'm not equipped for your life, that you'll get bored and move on. Rachel is jealous and desperate. She wants me back, and she's trying to manipulate you into leaving." Sang-woo's voice was fierce. "Everything I've told you, everything we've shared, it's real. You're the most real thing that's ever happened to me." "How can you be sure? We've only known each other 3 weeks. Because in 3 weeks, you've made me feel more than Rachel did in a year. Because I wake up thinking about you and fall asleep with your name on my lips. Because when I imagine my future, you're in it. Always." He pressed his forehead to hers. "I love you, Rachel. I'm in love with you. Completely, terrifyingly in love with you." She sobbed, her hands clutching his tuxedo jacket. "I love you too. That's why this is so scary. I'm so far out of my depth. Your world, your family, your life. It's all so much bigger than anything I've ever known. Then we'll figure it out together. But please, don't run from me. Don't run from us." He kissed her softly. "Come back with me. Face them all with me. Show them that what we have is worth fighting for. What if I can't? What if I'm not strong enough? You're the strongest person I know. You left your home, came to a new country, Work 2 jobs to help your mother. You're a survivor, Rachel, and I need you to survive this with me." Around them, other passengers watched the scene unfold. Some smiled, some wiped tears from their own eyes. The gate agent made an announcement that the flight was boarding. "That's my flight," Rachel whispered. "Let it go. Come back with me. Please." She looked at the gate, then back at him. This was the moment, the choice that would define everything. Finally, she nodded. "Okay, let's go back." Relief flooded through Sang-woo so intensely he had to close his eyes. "Thank you. Thank you." They practically ran back to his car, Sang-woo calling Tae-soo to let everyone know he was on his way. The ceremony had been delayed, but not cancelled. Beom-seok had insisted on waiting. On the drive back, Sang-woo held Rachel's hand so tightly it probably hurt. "I'm sorry I doubted us," she said quietly. "Don't apologize. They're good at manipulation. My mother has been doing it for decades. But you need to know something. Whatever happens from here, whatever they say or do, I'm on your side. Always. Your mother will never accept me. Then she'll have to learn to live with disappointment, because you're not going anywhere." They arrived back at the estate 45 minutes after the ceremony was supposed to start. Guests whispered as they rushed inside, Rachel still in her burgundy dress, both of them windswept and emotional. Mrs. Park waited in the entrance hall, her expression furious. "Sang-woo, how dare you abandon your brother's wedding for this girl?" "This woman," Sang-woo corrected sharply, "is the person I love. And if you can't respect that, then we have nothing more to say to each other." "You would choose her over your family?" "I would choose her over anyone, including you." He stepped forward, his voice hard. "You drove her away with your cruelty. You and Kyung-min and Rachel. You made her feel like she wasn't good enough, like she didn't belong. But she's the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I won't let you take that away." Mrs. Park's eyes widened. She'd never heard him speak to her like this. "From now on, you will treat Rachel with respect. You will welcome her as part of this family, because she is my future mother, with or without your blessing." Before Mrs. Park could respond, Beom-seok appeared. "Are you two ready? Because Yuna is getting impatient, and honestly, so am I." The ceremony was beautiful despite the delayed start. Rachel stood beside Sang-woo, his arm around her waist, both of them still emotional from the airport scene. When Beom-seok and Yuna exchanged vows, promising to love each other through everything, Sang-woo squeezed Rachel's hand. She looked up at him and saw her future in his eyes. After the ceremony, as guests moved to the reception, Rachel approached them one last time. "I underestimated you," she said to Rachel. "I thought you'd be easy to break. I was wrong." "Yes, you were," Sang-woo said coldly. "Stay away from us, Rachel. We're done. Permanently." At the reception, Sang-woo made sure everyone knew Rachel was there to stay. He introduced her to business associates, family friends, everyone important in his life. And when the dancing started, he held her close and whispered all the things he'd been too scared to say before. "I meant what I said. I love you, and I'm going to prove it every single day. I love you too, even though you're complicated and dangerous and come with the world's most difficult mother." He laughed, actually laughed, and Rachel realized how rarely she'd heard that sound. "We're going to be okay," he promised, and for the first time she believed him. The week after the wedding passed in a strange blur of normalcy and newness. Rachel returned to her nursing shifts at Memorial Hospital, but now Sang-woo texted her constantly throughout the day. Good morning messages, lunch check-ins, good night calls that lasted hours. He sent a car to pick her up after work instead of letting her take the bus. He had groceries delivered to her apartment, always including little treats he'd noticed she liked. "You're spoiling me," she protested one evening as another delivery arrived, this time with fresh flowers and expensive chocolate. "I'm taking care of you. There's a difference." His voice over the phone was warm. "Can I see you tonight?" "I'm exhausted from a double shift. Maybe tomorrow." But an hour later, he showed up at her door anyway, carrying takeout from her favorite Rwandan restaurant across town. "I said I was tired," she said, but she was smiling. "Which is why I brought food, so you don't have to cook." He kissed her forehead. "And I promise to leave early so you can sleep." He didn't leave early. They ate dinner on her tiny couch, then talked until midnight about everything and nothing. When Rachel's eyes finally started drooping, Sang-woo carried her to bed and tucked her in. "Stay," she murmured sleepily. He hesitated. They hadn't spent a full night together since the wedding, both trying to take things slow now that they were back in real life. "Please," she added. "I sleep better when you're here." So he stayed, holding her through the night. And when morning came, they had breakfast in her cramped kitchen that felt more like home than his expensive penthouse ever had. But their bubble of happiness couldn't last forever. 3 days later, Rachel got a call from Rwanda. Her mother had collapsed and was in the hospital. The medical bills were piling up, and her aunt was demanding money Rachel didn't have. She broke down in Sang-woo's car after he picked her up from work. "I don't know what to do. Even with the money you gave me, it's not enough. The hospital wants payment up front for the surgery she needs, and I can't afford it." "How much?" $30,000. I'd need to work for 2 years to save that much, and she doesn't have 2 years. Sang-woo pulled over and turned to face her. "I'll wire the money tonight." "No, absolutely not. You've already done too much." "Rachel, your mother raised you alone. She worked 3 jobs to put you through school. She deserves the best medical care possible. I can't keep taking money from you. People already think I'm with you for your wealth." "I don't care what people think. I care about you, which means I care about your mother." He cupped her face gently. "Let me help. Please." Not as a boyfriend doing a favor, but as someone who loves you and wants to ease your burden. Tears streamed down her face. "Why are you so good to me?" "Because you're worth it." He kissed her softly. "Give me your aunt's information. I'll handle everything." That night, Sang-woo didn't just wire money. He called contacts in Rwanda, arranged for Rachel's mother to be transferred to the best private hospital in Kigali, and hired a full-time nurse. He even had lawyers draw up documents preventing Rachel's aunt from accessing any of the funds. When Rachel called her mother the next day and heard the strength returning to her voice, she cried with relief. "There's more," Sang-woo said that evening over dinner at his penthouse. "I've started the paperwork to bring your mother to San Francisco. She can live with us and receive treatment here." "Us?" "I want you to move in with me. This place is too big for one person, and I want to wake up next to you every morning." Rachel's heart raced. "That's a big step." "I know, but I'm ready for it if you are." He took her hand across the table. "I love you, Rachel. I want to build a life with you. A real life, not just dates and sleepovers. Your mother will have a heart attack." "My mother is slowly coming around. She called me yesterday and asked about you. Actually asked, not criticized." "What did you tell her?" "That you make me happy. That I'm thinking about my future in ways I never did before. That you're the best thing that's ever happened to me." Rachel wanted to say yes immediately, but fear held her back. "What about your business? The dangerous parts? You said you wanted to go legitimate, but that takes time." Sang-woo's expression grew serious. "I've been working on it. Tae-soo is handling day-to-day operations, while I focus on transitioning our assets. We've already sold off 2 of the gambling operations and reinvested in commercial real estate. It'll take another year, maybe 2, but I'm committed to building something you don't have to be ashamed of." "I'm not ashamed of you." But you're scared of my life. I see it in your eyes sometimes, when my phone rings late at night, or when Tae-soo shows up unannounced. I want to give you a life where you don't have to be scared." She squeezed his hand. "I'm not scared of your life. I'm scared of losing you to it." "You won't. I promise you won't." But promises were easier to make than keep. 2 weeks later, trouble found them. Sang-woo had warned Rachel that transitioning out of certain businesses would create enemies. What he hadn't anticipated was how quickly those enemies would strike. Rachel was leaving the hospital after a night shift when 2 men approached her in the parking garage. She recognized the threat immediately from their aggressive posture. "You're Sang-woo Park's girlfriend?" one of them asked. "Who's asking?" "Someone who wants to send him a message." They moved to grab her, but years of working in emergency rooms had taught Rachel how to handle aggressive patients. She twisted away from the first man, jabbed her keys into the second one's hand when he reached for her, and screamed loud enough that hospital security came running. The men fled, but Rachel was shaking by the time security reached her. They called the police, who took her statement, and then she called Sang-woo. He arrived within 15 minutes, Tae-soo and 3 other men with him. When he saw Rachel sitting in the security office, visibly shaken, his expression turned murderous. "Did they hurt you?" "No. I fought them off. You shouldn't have had to fight anyone." He pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. "This is my fault. I should have assigned you protection. I don't want bodyguards following me around. Too bad. Starting today, you have protection whether you like it or not." They went back to his penthouse, where Sang-woo made calls in sharp, angry tones, while Rachel sat wrapped in a blanket, the adrenaline finally wearing off. Tae-soo explained the situation. "It's the Wei Chen organization. They're unhappy about you selling the gambling operations. Those were bringing in revenue they used, for money laundering. I don't care what they're unhappy about. They don't touch Rachel, ever. They're sending a message. This is just the beginning unless we respond." Sang-woo's jaw was tight. "Then we respond. Hard. Call everyone in. I want a show of force they can't ignore." After Tae-soo left, Rachel spoke quietly. "Is this what our life will be like? People trying to hurt me to get to you?" "No, because I'm going to end this threat permanently." He knelt in front of her, taking her hands. "I know I promised you a safer life, and I will give you that. But first I have to clean up the mess I created by trying to go legitimate. Can you trust me to handle this?" "I trust you. I'm just scared." "I know. Me too." He kissed her palms. "But I won't let anyone hurt you. I'd burn down the entire city first." The next few days were tense. Sang-woo barely slept, constantly on the phone or meeting with his people. Rachel had bodyguards everywhere she went, which felt strange, but also oddly comforting. The hospital was buzzing with rumors about the nurse who'd fought off attackers and had dangerous men protecting her now. Then Rachel showed up at the hospital. Rachel was on break in the cafeteria when Rachel slid into the seat across from her. "I heard what happened. Are you okay?" "What do you want, Rachel?" "To warn you. This is exactly what I was talking about at the wedding. Sang-woo's world is dangerous. People will come after you just for being with him. Is that really the life you want? It's not ideal, but I love him. Love isn't enough when you're constantly looking over your shoulder. Trust me. I know. The stress ate away at me until I couldn't take it anymore." Rachel leaned forward. "He won't blame you if you leave. He'll understand. Deep down, he probably expects it. I'm not leaving. Even after being attacked, even knowing it'll happen again? He's handling it. And even if he weren't, I still wouldn't leave. Because that's what love means. Standing by someone even when things get hard." Rachel's expression hardened. "You're naive. You think love conquers all, but it doesn't. Reality conquers all. Fear conquers all. Eventually you'll realize that and leave anyway. It's just a matter of time. Then I guess time will tell. After Rachel left, Rachel sat alone, her coffee growing cold. Was Rachel right? Was she being naive? The attack had terrified her more than she'd admitted. Every shadow in the parking garage now made her jump. Every stranger seemed like a potential threat. But when she imagined leaving Sang-woo, the pain was worse than the fear. That evening, Sang-woo came home early, looking exhausted but satisfied. It's done. Wei Chen won't be a problem anymore. What did you do? Convinced him that retaliating would cost him everything. We have evidence of his operations that we'll release to the authorities if he comes near you again. He's backed off. Is it really over? This particular threat is. But Rachel's right about one thing. My life comes with risks. I can minimize them, but I can't eliminate them entirely. Not yet. Rachel stood and went to him, wrapping her arms around his waist. Then we'll deal with them together. You're sure, after everything? I'm sure, because I love you, and I'm not going anywhere. He held her close, and she felt some of the tension leave his body. They stood like that for a long time, drawing strength from each other. Over the next month, things settled into a new normal. Rachel moved into Sang-woo's penthouse, bringing her few belongings into his vast space. They made it feel like home together, adding personal touches and photos. Her mother's surgery in Rwanda was successful, and plans were underway to bring her to San Francisco once she was strong enough to travel. Mrs. Park even came to dinner one evening, bringing kimchi she'd made herself. "For Rachel," she said stiffly, handing over the container, "since my son seems to prefer your cooking to mine now." It wasn't quite acceptance, but it was progress. Rachel stopped calling Sang-woo, and rumor had it she and Trevor had broken up. Kyung-min kept his distance after Sang-woo made it clear that any further interference would result in permanent exile from the family. Life wasn't perfect. Sang-woo still had late-night calls and stressful business dealings. Rachel still worked long shifts that left her exhausted, but they made it work because they both wanted to. One evening, 3 months after the wedding, Sang-woo took Rachel back to the coffee shop where they'd first met. "Why are we here?" she asked, confused. "Because this is where everything started, where I spilled coffee on the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen and somehow convinced her to give me a chance." He led her to their original table by the window. The evening light was soft and golden. "Rachel, these past few months with you have been the best of my life. You've made me believe in futures I thought I'd given up on. You've made me want to be better, do better, build something worth having." He got down on one knee, and Rachel's breath caught. "I know we started with an arrangement, $10,000 for a fake weekend. But somewhere between the coffee shop and Napa Valley, and coming home together every night, it became the most real thing I've ever experienced." He pulled out a ring box. "Marry me. Build a life with me. Let me spend every day proving that I'm worthy of your love." Tears streamed down Rachel's face. "Yes, yes, of course, yes!" He slipped the ring onto her finger, a beautiful sapphire surrounded by diamonds. Then he stood and kissed her, while the entire coffee shop erupted in applause. "I love you," he whispered against her lips. "I love you too, even though you're still complicated and dangerous and come with impossible family. But you're stuck with me now." "Good. That's exactly where I want to be." They sat at that table for hours, making plans for their future. Wedding that blended their cultures, bringing her mother to San Francisco, continuing his transition to legitimate business, maybe even children someday. It wasn't the life Rachel had imagined when she'd left Rwanda. It was better. Messier and more complicated, but infinitely better. Because she'd found love in the most unexpected place, with the most unexpected person, and it had changed everything. 5 months after the engagement, life had settled into a rhythm that felt both comfortable and exciting. Rachel's mother, Uvera, arrived in San Francisco on a clear Tuesday morning, and Sang-woo insisted on going to the airport personally to welcome her. "You don't have to come," Rachel said nervously as they drove. "I know you have meetings today." "Meetings can wait. This is more important." When Uvera emerged from customs, Rachel ran to her, both women crying and speaking rapid Kinyarwanda. Sang-woo hung back, giving them their moment, until Rachel turned and pulled him forward. "Mama, this is Sang-woo, my fiancé." Uvera looked him up and down with the sharp eyes of a mother evaluating her daughter's choice. She was thin from her illness, but standing straight, her dignity intact. She spoke in accented English. "You are the man my daughter has chosen?" "Yes, ma'am. And I'm honored she chose me. She tells me you helped save my life, paid for my surgery, brought me to America. Your daughter saved my life first, just in a different way." Uvera's expression softened slightly. "You love her?" "More than anything in this world." "Good, because if you hurt her, sick or not, I will make you regret it." Sang-woo smiled. "I would expect nothing less." They'd prepared the second bedroom in the penthouse for Uvera. She stood in the doorway, looking overwhelmed at the luxury. "This is too much," she said in Kinyarwanda to Rachel. "Mama, he wants you to be comfortable. Let him do this." Uvera settled in slowly, still weak from her surgery, but growing stronger every day. She attended her follow-up appointments at the best cardiac center in San Francisco, where doctors marveled at her recovery. Sang-woo had arranged everything, including a nurse to visit daily and help with her medication schedule. But Uvera was traditional and didn't like being idle. She started cooking Rwandan dishes, filling the penthouse with smells that made Rachel homesick in the best way. She also started asking pointed questions about when the wedding would be. "You live together unmarried," she said one evening over dinner. "This is not how I raised you." "Mama, things are different in America." "Love is not different. Respect is not different. If he wants you, he should marry you properly." Sang-woo, who was learning to understand more Kinyarwanda, caught the gist. "She's right. We should set a date." They decided on a wedding 6 months away, giving them time to plan properly. Rachel wanted to blend Korean and Rwandan traditions, which meant negotiations between Mrs. Park and Uvera about proper customs. The two mothers met for the first time at the penthouse. Mrs. Park arrived in designer clothes, clearly trying to impress. Uvera wore her best church dress, equally determined to represent her culture with pride. "Your home is very beautiful," Uvera said carefully. "Thank you. Though it's technically my son's home now, he's worked very hard for everything he has. As has my daughter. She came to America with nothing and built a good life through hard work." Mrs. Park's lips thinned. "Yes, she's very industrious." The tension was thick until Uvera pulled out a container. "I brought sweet potato and cassava, traditional Rwandan food. Perhaps you would like to try?" Mrs. Park hesitated, then took a piece. Her expression showed surprise. "This is quite good. Different, but good. Perhaps you could teach me to make kimchi? Rachel says you make the best in San Francisco." That broke the ice. By the end of the evening, the two mothers were comparing recipes and arguing good-naturedly about wedding traditions. It wasn't friendship exactly, but it was a start. Meanwhile, Sang-woo's transition to legitimate business continued. He'd sold off most of the illegal operations, keeping only the import business and investing heavily in real estate and security services. His reputation in the Korean community remained strong, but now people came to him for business advice rather than protection. Rachel continued working at the hospital, though she'd cut back to regular shifts instead of doubles. She loved her work, the feeling of helping people. But she also loved having energy left over to spend with Sang-woo and her mother. Then complications arose in the form of family politics. Kyung-min had been quiet since the wedding, but resentment festered. He'd lost face when Sang-woo publicly chose Rachel over family opinion, and he'd never forgiven the humiliation. He started spreading rumors in the Korean business community that Sang-woo had gone soft, that foreign influence was weakening the family organization. "People are talking," Tae-soo reported one evening, "saying you're distracted by your woman, that you've lost your edge. Some of the younger members are listening to Kyung-min. Let them talk. Actions speak louder than rumors. With respect, boss, you need to address this directly. Show strength. Kyung-min is positioning himself as an alternative if things go wrong." Sang-woo's jaw tightened. Family politics were exhausting, but necessary. "Set up a meeting with all the senior members. Time to remind everyone who's in charge." The meeting happened at one of Sang-woo's legitimate businesses, an upscale restaurant he'd recently purchased. 15 men sat around a long table, the old guard who'd served his father and brother. Kyung-min sat at the far end, looking smug. "Thank you all for coming," Sang-woo began. "I've heard rumors about my leadership being questioned, about going soft, about being distracted. So let's address this directly. The organization is changing," Kyung-min spoke up. "We're moving away from what made us strong, all because of your woman. Her name is Rachel, and yes, we're changing. We're going legitimate because that's the only way to survive long term. The FBI is cracking down on organized crime. Rival gangs are getting desperate and violent. The old ways are dying. The old ways built everything we have. And they'll destroy everything we have if we don't adapt." Sang-woo's voice was steel. "I'm transitioning us to legal operations while keeping our community connections strong. We'll still protect our people, still help those who need it, but without the risk of federal prosecution." "You're weak," Kyung-min sneered. "Your father would be ashamed. My father would be proud that I'm thinking about the future instead of clinging to the past." Sang-woo leaned forward. "But if anyone here thinks they can do better, speak now. Challenge me openly instead of spreading rumors like a coward." Silence fell. No one met his eyes except Kyung-min, whose face flushed with anger. "That's what I thought." Sang-woo stood. "We move forward together, or you're free to leave. But I'm done entertaining challenges to my leadership." After the meeting, Tae-soo approached. "That should quiet things down. But Kyung-min won't let this go. He's too proud." "I know. Keep eyes on him. I want to know everyone he talks to, everything he does." At home, Rachel could see the stress on Sang-woo's face. "Bad day." "Family politics. Nothing for you to worry about. I'm going to be your wife. Your problems are my problems." He smiled and pulled her close. "How did I get so lucky?" "By spilling coffee on me. Best accident of my life." They were planning their wedding, balancing Rachel's hospital schedule and navigating family dynamics, but life felt full in a good way. Until the day someone tried to kidnap Rachel from the hospital parking garage. It happened fast. She was walking to her car after a shift when a van pulled up. 2 men jumped out, moving to grab her. But Rachel had learned from the last attempt. She screamed immediately, fought back hard, and hospital security responded quickly. Her bodyguards, who'd been parking the car, arrived within seconds. One of the attackers was caught, the other escaped in the van. Sang-woo arrived 20 minutes later, fury written across every line of his body. "Are you hurt?" "No, I'm okay. They didn't touch me." He pulled her into his arms, holding her while he gave sharp orders to his men. The captured attacker was taken somewhere for questioning. That evening, Tae-soo brought information. "The attack was ordered by Kyung-min. He made a deal with Wei Chen's organization. They want back into the gambling operations you sold, and Kyung-min wants your position. They plan to hold Rachel hostage to force your hand." Sang-woo's expression was ice. "Where is Kyung-min now?" "At his apartment. He doesn't know we know yet." "Good. Let's keep it that way." The next morning, Sang-woo called a family meeting. His mother, Seok, and all the senior organization members gathered. Kyung-min arrived looking nervous, but trying to hide it. "We have a traitor among us," Sang-woo announced. "Someone who hired attackers to kidnap my fiancé. Someone who made deals with our enemies. Someone who betrayed family for personal ambition." Kyung-min's face went pale. "Kyung-min, you're done. Security will escort you out. You're no longer welcome in any family business or gathering. Your accounts are frozen. Your apartment, which the family pays for, will be emptied by tonight." "You can't do this," Kyung-min shouted. "I'm family." "Family doesn't try to hurt each other's loved ones. You stopped being family the moment you touched what's mine." Sang-woo's voice was deadly calm. "You're lucky I'm letting you leave with your life. Don't make me regret that, Mercy." Security dragged Kyung-min out while he screamed threats and accusations. Mrs. Park sat stone-faced throughout, saying nothing in her nephew's defense. After everyone left, she approached Sang-woo. "You did the right thing," she said quietly. "He went too far." "I know. And Rachel, she handled herself well. Again. She's stronger than I gave her credit for." "She is." Mrs. Park nodded slowly. "Perhaps I've been wrong about her. Perhaps she's exactly what you need." It wasn't quite an apology, but from Mrs. Park, it was significant progress. That night, Rachel held Sang-woo while he processed everything. Cutting off family, even treacherous family, was painful. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "No. He threatened you. There's no coming back from that. Your mother seems different lately, more accepting. She's realizing you're not going anywhere, that fighting it is pointless." He kissed her forehead. "And she sees how happy you make me. Even she can't argue with that." The months leading to the wedding passed more peacefully. Sang-woo's transition to legitimate business was nearly complete. He'd established a successful commercial real estate company and a private security firm that protected high-profile clients. His reputation as a savvy businessman was growing. Rachel was promoted to senior nurse at the hospital, recognition of her skill and dedication. She was training new nurses and loving the additional responsibility. Uvera's health continued improving. She'd gained weight, her color was good, and her doctors were amazed at her recovery. She and Mrs. Park had developed an unlikely friendship based on mutual respect and shared investment in their children's happiness. Seok and Yuna announced they were expecting a baby, bringing joy to the family. Rachel had moved to New York, finally accepting that Sang-woo was lost to her forever. And through it all, Rachel and Sang-woo grew closer. They learned each other's rhythms, supported each other's dreams, and built something solid and real. Evening. Lying in bed after making love, Rachel traced patterns on Sang-woo's chest. "Are you happy?" she asked. "Completely. Are you? Sometimes I can't believe this is my life, that I went from struggling to pay rent to living in a penthouse with the man I love and planning a wedding. Believe it. You deserve all of this and more. So do you. You've worked so hard to build something better." He turned to face her, his expression serious. "I did it for us. For the future we're building. I want our children to be proud of what their father does, not ashamed or scared." "Children?" Rachel's heart fluttered. "Eventually. If you want them. I do, maybe 2 or 3. 3 sounds perfect." He kissed her softly. "A house full of noise and love. Nothing like the cold, quiet home I grew up in. We'll make it better. Together." "Together," he agreed. and as they fell asleep in each other's arms, both felt the solid certainty of a future built on something real. Something that started as pretend, but became the truest thing either had ever known. The wedding was only months away now, their real beginning, and they couldn't wait. 2 months before the wedding, everything fell apart. It started with a phone call in the middle of the night. Sang-woo's phone buzzed insistently until he answered, his voice rough with sleep. This better be important. Rachel felt him go rigid beside her. She opened her eyes to see his face illuminated by the phone screen, his expression horrified. "When?" he demanded. "How bad?" A pause. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. He was already out of bed, pulling on clothes. "What's wrong?" Rachel asked, sitting up. "One of my warehouses was attacked. 3 of my men are injured, 1 critically. Tae-soo thinks it's Wei Chen's organization, retaliating for us refusing to let them back into our territory." "I thought you had a deal with them." "We did. Apparently, Kyung-min has been feeding them information from exile, stirring up trouble. He wants to force me out by making it look like I can't protect our interests." Sang-woo was dressed now, strapping on a shoulder holster that Rachel had never seen before. The gun he slid into it was a stark reminder of the world he came from. "I'm coming with you," she said. "No, it's too dangerous. Your men are injured. I'm a nurse. I can help." He hesitated, then nodded shortly. 5 minutes. And you stay in the car unless I say otherwise. The warehouse was in the industrial district, surrounded by police lights and emergency vehicles. Tae-soo met them with a grim expression. "1 dead," he reported. "Chong didn't make it. 2 others are stable, but need hospital care." Rachel saw the bodies being loaded into ambulances. She pushed past Sang-woo's protests and went to the injured men, her training taking over. She helped paramedics stabilize them, gave instructions, made sure they were ready for transport. One of the injured men, barely 20 years old, grabbed her hand. "Thank you, miss. Tell the boss we tried to protect his property." "You did well," she said gently. "Now focus on healing." After the ambulances left, Sang-woo stood surveying the damage. The warehouse had been ransacked, inventory destroyed, and a message was spray-painted on the wall in red. "This is just the beginning." "They're escalating," Tae-soo said. "This wasn't about money. This was about sending a message. Then we send one back. Boss, if we retaliate, this becomes a full-scale war. Police are already sniffing around. You've worked so hard to go legitimate. One wrong move and everything collapses." Sang-woo's jaw was tight. "I won't let them attack my people without consequences." Over the next week, tensions ratcheted higher. Wei Chen's organization made several more moves, targeting Sang-woo's legitimate businesses now. A restaurant was vandalized. A security client was threatened until they canceled their contract. Small strikes designed to damage reputation and income. Sang-woo barely slept, constantly coordinating responses, shoring up defenses. Rachel watched him burn himself out, the stress evident in every line of his body. "You need to rest," she urged one evening. "I can't. If I show weakness now, everything falls apart. You're no good to anyone if you collapse from exhaustion." "I'm fine." But he wasn't fine. The pressure was eating at him, bringing out the hard, dangerous man she'd glimpsed but never fully seen. He was short with his men, cold with business associates, distant even with her. Then Rachel reappeared. She showed up at the penthouse one afternoon when Sang-woo was out, claiming she needed to speak with Rachel privately. "What do you want?" Rachel asked warily. "To help. I still have connections in certain circles. I heard about the attacks. I know people who might have information about Wei Chen's plans." "Why would you help us?" "Because despite everything, I don't want to see Sang-woo destroyed. And because I was wrong about you. You're good for him in ways I never could be." Rachel provided names and information that proved valuable. Sang-woo's people used it to intercept 2 more planned attacks. It wasn't enough to end the conflict, but it bought time. "I don't trust her," Rachel said when Sang-woo mentioned Rachel's help. "Neither do I completely. But right now, I'll take intelligence from any source." The wedding planning had ground to a halt. Every day brought new crises, new problems to solve. Mrs. Park called repeatedly, worried about her son. Uvera prayed constantly, sensing the danger even if she didn't fully understand its source. Then Kyung-min made his move. He'd been working with Wei Chen all along, feeding them information, helping plan attacks. But his ultimate goal wasn't just revenge. He wanted Sang-woo's position, and to get it, he needed Sang-woo completely discredited. He went to the police with carefully constructed evidence, suggesting Sang-woo was still running illegal operations, fake documents, doctored photos, testimony from paid witnesses. It was enough for the FBI to open an investigation. "They're freezing your assets," Tae-soo reported grimly. "Subpoenaing records. They want to bring you in for questioning. The evidence is fake. We can prove it. That takes time, and while we're proving it, your reputation is destroyed. Business partners are already distancing themselves. Clients are canceling contracts." Sang-woo looked 10 years older than he had a month ago. "Kyung-min planned this perfectly. Attack me on all fronts until I collapse under the weight. What do? We fight back. Legal team handles the FBI. I'll handle Wei Chen and Kyung-min." That night, Sang-woo barely came to bed. He sat in his office, making calls and planning strategy until dawn. Rachel brought him food he didn't eat, coffee he barely touched. "Talk to me," she pleaded. "Let me help." "You can't help with this. This is my world, my mess. I'm your fiancé. That makes it my mess, too." He looked at her with exhausted eyes. "Do you regret it? Saying yes? Getting involved with all this?" "Never. But I regret that you're shutting me out when you need support the most. I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protecting. I need you to trust me enough to let me stand beside you." Something in his expression cracked. He pulled her into his arms, holding her desperately. "I'm scared," he admitted. "Scared of losing everything I've built. Scared of dragging you down with me. Scared that Kyung-min will win and you'll end up hurt because of my enemies. Then we face it together, whatever comes." The situation reached its peak when Wei Chen himself requested a meeting. He wanted to negotiate directly with Sang-woo, away from intermediaries. "It's a trap," Tae-soo warned. "Probably. But I'm running out of options. If I can end this peacefully, it's worth the risk." "I'm coming with you," Rachel insisted. "Absolutely not." "Then I'll follow you anyway. At least if I'm with you, you can keep an eye on me." He wanted to argue, but recognized the steel in her voice. "You stay in the car with guards. No matter what happens, you don't leave that car." The meeting was set for a warehouse on the waterfront. Sang-woo brought Tae-soo and 4 trusted men. Wei Chen brought twice that number. From the car, Rachel watched them talk. Body language was tense, aggressive. At one point, Wei Chen laughed at something Sang-woo said, but it wasn't a friendly sound. Then she saw Kyung-min emerge from behind Wei Chen's men. He'd been there all along, orchestrating everything. The conversation escalated. Voices rose, hands moved toward weapons. And then Rachel saw Rachel, of all people, rush into the warehouse through a side entrance. She was shouting something, waving papers. Everything happened fast. Rachel had brought evidence, real evidence, that Kyung-min had been embezzling from Wei Chen's organization too, using the chaos to line his own pockets at everyone's expense. Wei Chen turned on Kyung-min with fury. His men surrounded Kyung-min, who tried to run, but was caught immediately. Rachel approached Sang-woo, handing him documents. He was playing both sides. I found proof. I thought you should know before anyone got killed over a liar's schemes." Sang-woo studied the documents, then showed them to Wei-Chen. The two men spoke intently, and gradually the tension eased. A deal was being struck. An hour later, Sang-woo returned to the car, looking exhausted, but relieved. "What happened?" Rachel demanded. Wei-Chen didn't realize Kyung-min was stealing from him too. The attacks on my businesses were supposedly about territory, but really, Kyung-min was trying to create chaos he could profit from. Now, Wei-Chen knows the truth. "So it's over?" "This part is. Wei-Chen is handling Kyung-min his own way. We've agreed to stay out of each other's territory and share information about future threats. It's not friendship, but it's peace." "And Rachel?" "She came through when it mattered. I don't know why, but I'm grateful." Later, Rachel explained her motivation to both of them. "I left because I was scared. But watching from the outside, seeing what you two built together, it made me realize I gave up something real for safety that wasn't even real. Trevor was boring and safe, but I was miserable. I'm not trying to win you back, Sang-woo. I just wanted to help keep you alive. You deserve happiness, even if it's not with me." It was the closure they'd needed. Rachel left for New York that evening, finally moving forward with her own life. The FBI investigation continued, but with Kyung-min exposed and his fake evidence discredited, it was losing steam. Sang-woo's legal team was confident it would be dropped within months. The warehouse attack had cost them money and reputation, but they'd survived. Sang-woo's legitimate businesses were still intact, and his position in the community was secure. But the toll on Sang-woo was evident. He'd aged during the crisis, stress leaving marks that wouldn't fade quickly. "I need to step back," he told Rachel one evening. "Tae-soo can handle day-to-day operations. I need time to breathe, to remember who I am outside of all this." "What do you want to do?" "Focus on our wedding, on building our life, on being present instead of constantly fighting fires." "I think that's a wonderful idea." He pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. "Thank you for not leaving, for staying even when things got dark. Where else would I go? You're my home now. And you're mine." The storm had passed, but it had changed them, made them stronger individually and as a couple. They'd seen the worst and survived it together. Now they could finally look forward to their future without constant threat hanging overhead. The wedding was back on. Their life was back on track. And this time, nothing would stop them from building the happiness they'd fought so hard to protect. 12 months after the crisis, Rachel stood in a hotel suite overlooking San Francisco Bay, her heart pounding with anticipation. Today was her wedding day. The room bustled with activity. Yuna and the bridesmaids fluttered around, helping with final preparations. Uvera sat in a chair by the window, tears already flowing as she watched her daughter transform into a bride. The wedding dress was a masterpiece, blending Korean and Rwandan traditions. The top was a modernized hanbok in ivory silk with burgundy accents, while the skirt flowed in layers of tulle embroidered with traditional Rwandan patterns. It was both cultures coming together beautifully, just like Rachel and Sang-woo themselves. "You look stunning," Yuna breathed, adjusting the veil. "Sang-woo is going to cry when he sees you." "Your man doesn't cry," one of the bridesmaids joked. "He will today," Yuna insisted. "Trust me." Uvera stood and came to her daughter, taking her hands. She spoke in Kinyarwanda, her voice thick with emotion. "Your father would be so proud. You've become a strong woman, built a good life. This man you're marrying, he's worthy of you. I see how he looks at you, how he cares for you. You have my blessing." "Thank you, Mama." Rachel hugged her mother carefully, not wanting to wrinkle her dress. "I wish Baba could be here." "He is here, in your heart always." A knock on the door interrupted the moment. Mrs. Park entered, elegant in a traditional handbook of deep blue. She'd warmed considerably over the past months, and while she'd never be overly affectionate, she'd shown her acceptance in quiet ways. "May I speak with Rachel alone?" Mrs. Park asked. The room cleared, leaving just the two of them. Mrs. Park studied Rachel for a long moment. "You look beautiful. A worthy bride for my son." "Thank you, Mrs. Park. I want to apologize for how I treated you at the beginning, for doubting your intentions, for making things difficult." Mrs. Park's voice was stiff, as if apologies didn't come naturally. "I was wrong. You've been good for Sang-woo, better than I could have hoped. I love him. That's all I've ever wanted, to love him and be loved by him. I know that now, and I want you to know that you have my support. Fully. You're family now." Mrs. Park pulled out a velvet box. Inside was a beautiful jade necklace, clearly very old and very valuable. "This belonged to my mother, and her mother, before her. It's tradition to give it to the oldest son's wife. I want you to have it." Rachel's eyes filled with tears. "Mrs. Park, I can't take this. It's too precious." "You're precious to my son. That makes you precious to me." Mrs. Park fastened the necklace around Rachel's neck herself. "Wear it today, and pass it to your daughter someday." They hugged, an awkward but genuine embrace that marked a new chapter in their relationship. Across the hotel, Sang-woo was having his own moment with Beom-seok and Tai-soo. "Nervous?" Beom-seok asked, adjusting Sang-woo's tie. "Terrified. What if I mess up the vows? What if I trip? What if she changes her mind?" "She's not changing her mind. That woman fought off kidnappers for you. She stayed through FBI investigations and gang wars. She's not going anywhere." Tai-soo clapped Sang-woo on the shoulder. "I've known you since we were teenagers. I've never seen you as happy as you've been this past year. She's good for you, boss. This is the right choice." "I know. I just can't believe I get to marry her." Beom-seok smiled. "Junho would have liked her. He always said you needed someone strong enough to handle you." The mention of their late brother made Sang-woo pause. "I wish he could be here." "He is, just like Dad. They're watching and probably placing bets on whether you'll cry." "I won't cry. We'll see." The ceremony was held in a beautiful garden venue overlooking the bay. 200 guests filled white chairs, a mix of Korean and Rwandan communities, business associates, and family friends. The decorations blended both cultures seamlessly, with traditional Korean lanterns hanging beside Rwandan woven baskets filled with flowers. As guests settled, soft music began. First came the wedding party, bridesmaids in burgundy dresses walking alongside groomsmen in sharp suits. Then Beom-seok, carrying Yuna's 6-month-old son, the ring-bearer who mostly drooled on the pillow. Finally, the bride's music began. Rachel appeared at the end of the aisle on Uvera's arm. Traditional Rwandan culture would have had male family members walk her down, but Rachel insisted her mother deserved the honor for all she'd sacrificed. Sang-woo's breath caught when he saw her. She was luminous, ethereal, the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. And she was walking toward him, choosing him, wanting him. He did cry, not obvious sobbing, but his eyes filled and overflowed, and he didn't care who saw. When Rachel reached him, Uvera placed Rachel's hand in Sang-woo's. "Take care of my daughter," she said in accented English, loud enough for the front rows to hear. "With my life," Sang-woo promised. The officiant, a Korean pastor who'd learned traditional Rwandan blessings for the occasion, began the ceremony. It was a beautiful blend of both cultures, with readings in English, Korean, and Kinyarwanda, with traditional elements from both heritages. When it came time for vows, Sang-woo went first. "Rachel, you walked into my life covered in coffee and completely unimpressed by my money or status. You saw me, the real me, and somehow decided I was worth loving. You've stood by me through danger and chaos. You've challenged me to be better. You've given me hope for a future I thought I'd lost. I promise to protect you, support you, and love you for all my days. I promise to honor both our cultures in the family we build. I promise to never take for granted the gift of being loved by you." His voice cracked on the last words, and Rachel squeezed his hands. Then it was her turn. "Sang-woo, you spilled coffee on me and changed my life forever. You showed me that love can be found in unexpected places with unexpected people. You've supported my dreams, cared for my mother, and made me feel safe in a country far from home. You've shown me strength and vulnerability, power and tenderness. I promise to stand beside you through whatever comes. I promise to build a home filled with warmth and laughter. I promise to love you with everything I am, for all the days I'm given." She was crying too now, happy tears that streamed freely. The ring exchange was simple but profound, matching bands inscribed with both their names in Korean and Kinyarwanda. "By the power invested in me," the officiant declared, "I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride." Sang-woo cupped Rachel's face gently, looking into her eyes for a long moment before kissing her. It was tender and passionate, a promise and a celebration. The guests erupted in applause and cheers. They walked back down the aisle together as husband and wife, both grinning so hard their faces hurt. The reception was a joyous celebration. Korean and Rwandan music mixed together. Traditional dishes from both cultures filled long buffet tables. Guests danced and laughed and celebrated the union of two families, two cultures, two hearts. Mrs. Park and Uvera sat together at the family table, comparing notes on grandchildren they hoped would come soon. They'd become unlikely friends, bonded by love for their children and shared hope for the future. Beom Seok gave a toast that made everyone laugh and cry. My brother has always been serious, always responsible. But Rachel brought out his smile. She reminded him how to be happy. "Welcome to our crazy family, Rachel. You're stuck with us now." Tae-soo's toast was shorter, but no less meaningful. "To the boss and his beautiful wife. May your love be as strong as his right hook and as enduring as his stubbornness." When it was time for the first dance, Sang-woo led Rachel onto the floor. They'd practiced this, a blend of traditional Korean and Rwandan dance moves that told the story of their courtship. "Happy?" he whispered as they moved together. "Completely." "You?" "I didn't know I could be this happy. I didn't know this kind of happiness existed." "It does. And it's ours." Later, they cut a cake that was half traditional Korean rice cake and half Rwandan fruit cake. They fed each other bites, while guests cheered and cameras flashed. Rachel had sent a gift, a beautiful painting of the coffee shop where they'd met, with a card that read simply, "To new beginnings and real love." As the evening wore on, Rachel found herself surrounded by both communities, accepted and welcomed by everyone. The Korean aunties gave advice on married life, while Rwandan friends shared traditional blessings. It was everything she'd hoped for. Finally, near midnight, Sang-woo and Rachel slipped away to the honeymoon suite. They'd fly to Rwanda in 2 days for a second celebration with extended family there, but tonight was just for them. The suite was stunning, with floor-to-ceiling windows showing the glittering city below. Rose petals covered the bed, and champagne waited on ice. But they ignored all of it, focused only on each other. Sang-woo helped Rachel out of her dress carefully, reverent hands memorizing every inch of skin revealed. She undressed him just as slowly, taking time to appreciate the man she'd married. When they came together, it was different from all the times before. This was sacred permanent, the physical expression of vows spoken before witnesses. They made love slowly, tenderly, looking into each other's eyes and speaking without words. Afterward, wrapped in each other's arms, they talked about everything and nothing. Dreams for the future, hopes for children, plans for building the life they'd promised each other. "Do you ever think about how we started?" Rachel asked, tracing patterns on Sang-woo's chest. $10,000 for a fake weekend? Best money I ever spent. I was so nervous, so out of my depth. You hit it well. You walked into that wedding like you belonged there. I was faking it. Terrified your mother would see through us, that Rachel would expose us. And now look at us, married, building a life, making it real. It was always real though, wasn't it? Even when we were pretending, it was becoming real. From the first coffee shop conversation, maybe even from that first moment when I saw you covered in coffee and wanted to fix it. They fell asleep, tangled together, both dreaming of the future they'd build together. 1 year later, they stood in the same suite, this time with a different reason to celebrate. Rachel was 6 months pregnant, her belly round with their first child. "Do you think it's a boy or girl?" Sang-woo asked, his hand resting on her stomach. "Does it matter?" "Not even a little, as long as they're healthy and loved." They'd bought a house in Pacific Heights, bigger than the penthouse with room for children and family gatherings. Uvera lived with them, healthy and happy, already preparing to be the best grandmother in San Francisco. Mrs. Park visited weekly, bringing food and baby clothes, finally fully embracing her daughter-in-law. Sang-woo's business empire was completely legitimate now. Real estate, security, investments. He was respected in both Korean and broader San Francisco business communities. The dangerous days were behind him. Rachel had been promoted to head nurse of her department, a position she balanced with preparing for motherhood. Life wasn't perfect. They still argued sometimes, still had stressful days and moments of doubt. But they faced it all together, partners in every sense of the word. Standing at the window overlooking the city where they'd met, where they'd fallen in love, where they'd built their life, Sang-woo pulled Rachel close. "Remember when I asked you to be my fake girlfriend?" "Tuotu, could I forget?" "Worst decision I ever made." "Worst?" "The worst decision that turned out to be the best decision." She turned in his arms to face him. "You changed my life. You saved mine. We saved each other." As the sun set over San Francisco Bay, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, they stood together, looking toward a future bright with promise. The fake arrangement had become the realest love either had ever known, and their story, which began with coffee and desperation, had become something beautiful, something lasting, something worth fighting for. Forever had started the moment she said yes in that coffee shop. Everything since had just been proving that forever was real. Their baby kicked, strong and insistent, and they both laughed. "Our little one is impatient," Rachel said, "takes after their father and their mother." They kissed as the sun disappeared below the horizon, neither knowing nor caring what tomorrow would bring. Because whatever came, they'd face it together, just like they'd promised in a garden overlooking the bay. Just like they'd always promised, since that first unexpected meeting in a San Francisco coffee shop. Forever started with a spilled cup of coffee and a desperate deal. Forever became real through crisis and trust and choosing each other every single day. And forever would continue as long as they had each other. That was more than enough. That was everything. Thanks for following Sang-woo and Rachel's journey from fake arrangement to forever love. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to our channel for more romantic tales. Drop a comment telling us what you loved most about this story and where you're watching from. We love hearing from you.